Good morning, everyone. We'll just give 5 more minutes for the other participants to join.
Sure, thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Uh, Good morning, everyone. I think we can commence the proceedings now. We have a lot of participants, around 50 of them, and I hope people will be joining. I understand it's a lovely Sunday morning, especially here in Delhi, because of the nice weather, and people would generally like to stay outside, but such webinars are also useful for the future days, especially when you have a Monday morning lined up next day. Okay, so while commence the proceedings, first of all, a very good morning to all the participants who joined us today. On behalf of PMI North India chapter, I'm Commander Siddharth Gargari, retired, and I welcome you all to another captivating webinar, which is part of a series of Learning Byte 4.0. The topic for today is conflict management and understanding its dynamics for a successful outcome. And as you all know, that conflict is part and parcel of our daily routine. We face it every day, and sometimes we actually overcome such tricky situations. However, more often than not, we end up on the wrong side of the conflict, either due to lack of experience in such situations or our inability to tackle them. And to help us and assist us sail through such conflicts and how to tackle them amongst us, we have our esteemed speaker today, Commander Arun Jyoti, retired. Commander Arun Jyoti is a veteran naval officer who served in the submarine arms of the Indian Navy for 22 years. He's an alumnus of the National Defence Academy, Khadagwasla, and also the Defence Services Staff College at Wellington, both being two of the most premier joint services establishments of the Indian Armed Forces. Sir is a BTech in Electrical Engineering, BSc in Science, MSc in Strategic Studies, MBA in HR, and also holds a business certification from MBI Gurgaon. And after taking premature retirement from the Indian Navy, Commander Arun helmed an EPC company as its first Chief Operating Officer, and also the Government Affairs Director for India at Messrs. Honeywell. Subsequently, he joined the Smiths Group PLC, where presently he is the VP, Head of Government Relations for India, and is responsible for the government relations strategy across all of Smith's strategic business groups present in India. He has over 31 plus years of military and corporate experience, and that has helped him develop a strategic perspective about government policies, regulations, and functioning at various levels, and also tackling conflicts which keep arising at a daily level. Having worked in such diverse environments, he understands the organization cultures in corporate as well as government organizations, and also the best practices that are followed in these places. Apart from all these, he's a voracious leader and is passionate about writing, golf. Yeah, he's got an analytical bent of mind and loves high altitude driving. And I would now hand over the mic to Commander Arun sir to continue with the proceeding. So all over to you, sir.
Thank you, Siddharth, and good morning, everyone. I think a wonderful introduction, and it makes one feel happy that would have gone through so many conflicts in life to arrive at whichever stage one has reached. And let's try to make this particular session, more interactive and more interesting, because I can definitely place on the record that conflicts have been a integral part of human existence, and they would continue to be a part. The world will keep on pivoting, the world will keep on changing in its dynamism, and we all will have to kind of very quickly adapt to the situations that we are going to deal with in the coming years. And it's not going to be a very simple journey. It has never been a simple journey, and it's not going to be a simple journey. While you all as professionals, and basically when you do the kind of work that you do in your lives, you are the ones who are supposed to make it very, very easy for the people who are facing these kind of situations. So I think with that as a little introduction, kindly feel free to stop me during the course of this presentation, so that we can immediately address if there is any conflict that we are creating today. And otherwise, as we would like the flow of the presentation to go, we will take it from there. So I'll just quickly try to share my screen, and kindly let me know when the screen comes up.
Sure, sir. It's it's visible, sir.
It's visible, right?
Yeah.
I'll just put it in the slideshow mode. Is it visible now, Siddharth and the team?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes, visible.
All right. So firstly, thank you very much. A Sunday morning, and that too at around 11 o'clock in the morning, is never an easy time to concentrate. But
Sir, it is not in the slideshow mode, sir.
It's not?
No, sir.
Not visible?
The PPT is visible.
It is in edit mode, not in the...
Not in the slideshow mode, sir. You have to run it as a slideshow, sir. And...
Okay. Is it visible now?
Not yet.
Yes, sir, it's visible, but it's not in the slideshow.
Not.
Now, because I can see it in the slideshow mode.
I think you are not. You have to share that slideshow.
If you share the entire screen, I think you just shared.
Just a second, please. Just a second. Because I can see application windows and
Sir, in Zoom, on the Zoom screen, you will have a share button at the bottom, sir. You can just click it, sir, and
okay.
click.
All right, it's here.
Sir, no, sir. You don't click on your screen, sir. Achha, now you.
Is it visible now?
It is in the edit
Yes,
mode
sir.
now, sir. You can run the. Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, so this was a conflict which probably we solved immediately.
Absolutely, sir.
I think good. So good morning. I think a Sunday morning is never a easy one, but yes, there are a few people whom I see getting up very early on a Sunday morning, and other than their normal days, they get out of their homes at 4:35. They are cycling, they are running, they are trying to play a good game of golf and indulging in multiple activities. There are people who get out of this city, Delhi, on Friday evenings on their bikes or on their four-wheelers. They try to scale the mountains. So, I mean, actually everyone is basically trying to solve some part of their life. So thanks a lot for joining this. So today we will try to delve into this critical topic of conflict management and trying to understand its dynamics for a successful outcome. And I really do not know with what kind of background you all come, but I can definitely understand that you have been very successful project managers in your lives. We navigate a complex web of interactions and of course, competing interests which occur on a day-to-day basis. Now, a conflict, while it is often perceived negatively, it is an inevitable part of the professional life that we all live, and even in our personal lives. So I think there is no denying the fact that there is a very thin line between our lives, whatever part of it we live, and we definitely kind of get ring fenced into situations on day in and day out basis. However, when we manage it effectively, it can lead to innovation, it can lead to improved decision making, and definitely the outcome is a stronger team cohesion. So in this session, we will try to
So
explore.
if I may just interfere, you sorry, sir. Sorry, your
Yeah.
screen is still not visible completely, sir. Only a portion of it.
Just a minute.
There are two slides coming in, sir. You have to run it in full screen, sir.
One second. One second. It is showing me on my main screen. It is showing me a full slide.
Okay, we can see the second slide also.
You can see the 1900. The first.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me see if I can do something.
Presentation mode and just toggle it.
Arun, trying to help in case you can disconnect the external monitor.
It is visible now, sir.
Now it
Yes,
is
yes,
completely
now
it's fine, sir.
yes. It's fine.
All right.
keep it in this way. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we will run it this way. Thank you. So basically, where I was that when we manage these conflicts effectively, it can lead to innovation. It can lead to a very strong team cohesion. And so in this session, jointly probably we'll try to explore the nature of conflict, its causes and consequences. I will just throw open a few points from what I have perceived in my 32 years of working experience across domains and across verticals, and then probably we'll see that how we can strategize to harness the potential of a conflict for positive outcomes. So by understanding and mastering the dynamics of the conflict, we can actually transform challenges into opportunities and achieve success in our projects. Jumping on to the next slide, let's see if this runs correctly. Okay, has it come on correctly?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes.
So,
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So to illustrate the integral role of conflict in human existence, let's consider a couple of examples here. The first one, which is my personal favorite, is Wright brothers, and the second one I'll come on to is Ernest Shackleton. I don't know how many of you have heard about Ernest Shackleton, but we'll speak about this gentleman. The Wright brothers, who were the pioneers of aviation, they faced numerous conflicts and setbacks in their quest to achieve a powered flight. Despite the technical challenges, resource limitations, and occasional disagreements, because obviously disagreements do occur between brothers also, their collaborative spirit and determination led to their historic success. So I will just park this thought with you at this stage here, and I will quickly take you on to the 1914, the Antarctic expedition. And what I'm displaying on the screen is the advertisement which was published in the newspapers of those times, wherein Ernest Shackleton, he was a renowned Antarctic explorer, confronted severe conflicts during his endurance expedition. I would actually recommend that if you can do a Google on Ernest Shackleton and download whatever material you get on the web and just go through it. And if you can read that entire material, at the end of it, you would actually be so happy and thrilled that till what level a human being can go, and at what level a team can go when they have trust and faith on each other. In today's times, if we lose our mobile phone, we just feel as if the entire world around us has darkened. But when you will read this experience, and I want you to make this reading in your own free time, just to understand what the human beings are capable of. So Ernest Shackleton, the Antarctic explorer, he confronted severe conflicts during his expedition, which was called Endurance. He was stranded along with his team in the icy wilderness, and his leadership and conflict management skills were crucial in navigating interpersonal tensions and ensuring that each one of his team members survived. Now, these two stories basically they highlight that conflict is not only unavoidable, but it is also a catalyst for innovation and resilience. With good intentions and effective strategies, even the most difficult problems can be resolved, which can lead to extraordinary achievements. And I'm sure that when you will read these two Wright brothers and of course Ernest Shackleton in your own free time, definitely these two stories are going to touch you, deep into your heart and your mind. And next time when somebody comes and you have a situation where you would be resolving a conflict as a leader, these two episodes will come right in front of you, and then you will take different decisions. If you would have gone through this advertisement, see what he published. He wanted men for hazardous journey, small wages, bitter cold, long months of complete darkness, constant danger, safe return doubtful, honor and recognition in case of success. And he got all the men that he wanted for that expedition. So you can imagine what these words actually created in the minds of those who volunteered. So with this, I'll jump on to my next slide. Working together is not always easy because it involves blending diverse perspectives, managing different priorities, and navigating varying communication styles. These differences can lead to misunderstandings and conflicts and challenging even the most cohesive teams. When we go for our work early in the morning, we overcome some of our own personal challenges in life and we reach the work. And when we get somebody who comes and says that, oh, I could not make it on time because of so and so reason, your own challenge comes right in front of you and stands. And that is where your first communication happens with that person. And then you all know how those communication can, and whatever directions it can take. So conflict is definitely a natural and inevitable part of human interaction. And it arises when two or more parties have differing opinions, interests, or values. So this is how we can describe the conflict, and it can manifest in various forms, from minor disagreements to major disputes, and it can occur in any setting, including the workplace, families, and communities. Like I said, understanding the nature of conflict is the first step towards managing it effectively. So you have to really deep dive into what has actually led to this particular situation. And unless we do it in an absolutely unbiased and impassionate way, we will not be able to find where it actually started from. So let's look at what can be the consequences of the conflict. A conflict can lead to both positive and negative outcomes. While it can cause stress and disrupt team dynamics, it can also drive innovation, improves problem solving, and can also strengthen relationship when it is managed well. So lack of conflict, it's actually a sign of over conformity. And you would have definitely in your own lives would have seen that when people just conform to whatever is ongoing, there is actually no conflict that they see. Now, this indication of over conformity, where team members actually suppress their opinions to avoid disagreements, this can stifle creativity and it can limit the potential for growth and improvement. I mean, if you just think about this, what I've just said, probably you would be able to relate it to many instances in your own professional lives and of course in personal lives, where people have just kind of followed you blindly, or you have followed somebody blindly, and then when the outcome has not been good, then at times you have regretted. So that is where it is very important to understand that if there is no conflict in a particular situation or in any situation, then there is a chance that there is a challenge of conformity which is actually lurking around. It is also unhealthy when there is no conflict. Without conflict, many important issues may remain unaddressed. It can lead to complacency. It can lead to stagnation. Healthy conflicts do encourage critical thinking, and it can help the teams to identify and resolve many underlying problems. So where is the need for the diversity of opinion? So diverse opinions are crucial because it can lead to effective decision making when everyone puts their views right in front. So I would just like to quote the example of the world wars. And there is a term known as staff officers, which actually came into front during these world wars. And these staff officers were supposed to be giving absolute, candid, and clear view about the military situation, the war situation to the commanders. And any staff officer who gave the right opinion to his or her commander, they actually got the best results out because it always brings varied perspectives, ideas. It fosters a more comprehensive understanding of the issues, and definitely the outcome then would be better solutions and innovations. Now, with this, we will have a look at what are the components of a conflict. Now, conflict definitely would have two main components. It would be good and bad consequences. The good consequences, as you see on your screen, would include enhanced creativity, improved solutions, and stronger relationship through resolution. There are also bad consequences, which will involve increased stress, reduced collaboration, and potential damage to relationship and team morale if not managed well. Now, let us stretch quickly into the consequences of both kinds. So, let's see in the good consequences of conflict, there is always increased creativity, which encourages the team members to think outside the box and explore innovative solutions, fostering increased creativity. And you see day in and day out, you see companies which are actually, really struggling with each other, and they create that kind of an environment where, the conflict is resolved by the participants, and that is how these companies keep creating something new and keep, scaling up. And of course, they do reach very good levels, and when they fall from there, probably you can relate that there is something which they miss. What they were doing so successfully earlier, they don't they stop doing that, and that is where the problem occurs. Now, with this, um, there is also a force which actually is put on the people to clarify what is their particular viewpoint. They articulate, the team members clarify their perspectives, and that is one thing when they all share this thing together, that it leads to better understanding and communication, which of course is the bedrock of any human dealing. If we can communicate clearly, if we can communicate in a calm fashion and convey our viewpoint, I think that is the one which actually leads to the best outcomes that can happen. And it also leads to a constructive change because it can be a kind of a change, a catalyst for positivity. It can prompt the organizations to address issues, and when they address those issues, they improve their processes, and that again leads to the success that what the companies are looking for. Now, there is an opportunity for growth and that is a good consequence of a conflict again, because it gives people gives people the chance to test their capacities. If they are left stifled, if people are left without expressing their views, then you will never know what capacity that person has. They can then go all out, they can try to learn new skills, and of course then the outcome is that they develop personally also and as well as professionally also. You see those kind of examples do emerge in your day-to-day lives. You see it in the newspapers, you see it in your own personal lives, in your companies, where you celebrate that this person has actually changed himself. And how did he change himself? Because probably he overcame certain conditions, and that is what gives him a chance to perform differently, and it adds on, and of course it's the job of the leadership to recognize that. We also would see that another good consequence of the conflict is the development of group and organization cohesion, because if a conflict is managed well, it can actually strengthen the group, and of course the underlying tensions, when the conflict is getting resolved, they also try to disappear. Then they are left with no option. The tension does not find a solid ground to stay back into the team, and that is where the organization actually starts to gain a different trajectory. And many organizations, and I think that the organizations across the world, there are people who swear by it. They say that, oh, if I have to work, or if I have worked in this particular organization, these are the values, core values. And I think it is not that those organizations have not faced their own share of conflicting situations, but it is in their DNA to solve it and then create that ground where there are hardly any tensions between the teams. Because when they come and sit across the table to resolve a problem, they find the best solution because they are talking to each other, they are understanding of each other's, it can be apprehension, it can be a good suggestion, they adopt it and then they scale. Now, on the flip side of it, there are, of course, bad consequences of conflict, violence, unresolved conflict. It can escalate into violence, it can damage individuals, the work environment, and it can lead to severe consequences for all those who are involved in that particular situation. When I went through my selection interview for the National Defense Academy, a batch prior to us, there were two people who had come for that selection interview, and they had a very small fight. And by evening, that fight which happened in the morning during the interview stage, it led into a physical kind of a situation during the night hours, and the entire batch of that SSB was actually wiped off. And the precise reason that was given at that time was that the other members of that SSB should have actually intervened and not allowed these two boys to do what they did, and they hurt each other. So I think that is a bad consequence of a conflict, that the entire batch, people who just stood on the sidelines and watched that event unfold, the commandant of the SSB felt that they should have actually intervened in that situation and tried to avoid, because this is one thing which is told when you go, that if any such situation happens, you have to stay absolutely calm. So that was a bad outcome of that particular conflict. There is, of course, a breakdown of relationship. It strains, it breaks down the value chain which people have created amongst themselves, leads to erosion of trust and collaboration among team members, and definitely it will lead to uh, you know lesser possibilities of any future cooperation, and then people just struggle to overcome their even day-to-day challenges, and then obviously the midterm and the long-term plans do get affected. um, there is always a polarization of views, and conflict can actually lead to a very deep kind of a divide as far as views are concerned. and the parties can actually entrench themselves in static positions. Uh, they make compromises, and consensus becomes very, very difficult to achieve. And again, when we look at the world around us today, I think the polarization of views is one thing, and I don't want to quote any example here, but I think you all understand that this is one major challenge that we all are facing in our lives today. There is a severe polarization of views in and around us. Then it obviously leads to a breakdown of the of the collective ventures, because the conflict has been very poorly managed, and there is disruption, and the ventures do not take off, initiatives fall down, and the entire team effort and whatever goals the team is supposed to be achieving, they just get undermined, because there is nobody who takes charge of the situation. And the worst thing is that it can impair communication, creates barriers to effective dialogue, and exacerbates misunderstandings and mistrust. And then everything breaks down completely because nobody is willing to talk to the next person. So, what is the cost of the conflict? There is a relationship cost, because the conflict, when it strains the relationship, it reduces trust and cooperation immediately. It leads to misunderstandings between two individuals or between the entire group. And there is a long-term resentment and hostility which then emerges. So, when you go into your companies, you say that, when I go to the coffee machine, I hear something different about my manager or about some colleague or something. Now, this is exactly what the conflict is leading into. And what then eventually happens is that your personal connections start suffering. It impacts the team morale. And again, collaboration is one thing which definitely loses out in this entire sequence of event. Now, conflict also has a cost towards the company. Productivity drops as conflict distracts us from the right work. There is increased absenteeism, and absenteeism not only in the physical terms. There are people who come to the work location, and after that they just kind of go through the grind. They do not contribute, and it is a kind of absenteeism that we all see. And there is a huge turnover, because then you start losing good people, and anyone who joins the organization, then they do not stick to the organization for long, because people inherently try to escape the conflict. Some people do enjoy the conflict, but still a larger number of human beings would try to escape from the conflict. And legal and the mediation expenses also rise if these conflicts escalate. Company reputation, a very key thing, suffers, and it affects the client relations and future business opportunities. And an important part here is the costs to the individual. I think just a second. Yeah, cost to the individual, because the emotional stress, it leads to decreased job satisfaction, and it can also lead to mental health issues, which do not come out very clearly in day-to-day life, but the person is actually going or he's suffering, and that leads to many decisions which go southwards rather than taking the whole thing up northwards. And it damages their physical health, because the prolonged stress that we take on our own internal chemistry, it actually disturbs the correct balances. And I think many of you will agree that you have seen people changing. When they have gone into a particular role, you can see that their faces change, their physical appearance changes. And so what is it? It is basically some kind of a stress which is working against them. Career progression, it does get hindered if there is a negative work environment. And of course, whatever is happening in your professional lives, if it is not going in the right direction, then the personal life also suffers, as there is a stress from work conflict which spills over into the home life. Now, after having set this particular pace, what I would like to do is that I'm just going to kind of run through the next set of slides, because there are very many pictures which would come, and I think I would have consumed about 20-22 minutes odd by now. So we will just look at these, because by now I think most of us understand, and of course with the kind of background that you all people have, and it's very clear that conflict is omnipresent and it does not take us anywhere. We all understand it. But then why and how should we overcome it? So let us quickly identify what are the main sources of conflict. And it is basically the aggressive or competitive behavior of human beings. And you have seen it, right from if you date yourself, or when you were students of history, whatever you read in the history, it is basically the inherent aggression. And that aggression has got a meaning, because that aggression is the one thing which probably has led the world to come to this place where we are. And the competitive behavior which basically leads to the rise in the values, and rise in the challenges, and of course the conflict then occurs. And it is also a competition for the limited resources that leads to conflict. Every day when we try to catch a metro service, we see this kind of people rushing. And so what is it? There's only one metro with some 8 compartments, and there are thousands of people who try to board it. So it is basically the limited resources which also becomes one of the main source of conflict. Frustration is another key. People just cannot wait. When they have ordered a service, they want it to come. You see, but these days the company is saying that within 10 minutes we are going to give you a delivery. And that poor boy, if he gets late, and many of you would have seen that people lose their composure, people lose their calm, and it also leads to a kind of conflict. And any change when it is introduced, that also leads to a conflict. I have seen a situation when I was running a EPC company, and my management told me that we would have to shift the location of the office. And I went back to them with a data point where I said that I have 170 people working in this office, and about 65 to 70% of them originate from within 5 kilometers of this present location. And if I have to change that office from location A, where I am today, to location B, which was 28 kilometers away, and I had to cross the border to come into Gurgaon, these 65 to 70% people who have been serving this company for last 10 odd years, and they were between 4 to 10 years of service for them. Many of them, the distance would increase by 28 kilometers, and it would be 33 odd kilometers that they would have to travel. The management said, we would like to provide them with a transport. But looking at the traffic conditions, I stood my ground and I said, I'm not going to shift. And I think I did the right decision, because if I would have not presented my viewpoint clearly to my management, I would have lost nothing less than 30 to 35% of those people within 6 months. And after that, the attrition would have continued. So it means it would have been a huge churn. So change is one thing which definitely is a source of a conflict. And it happens in all walks of our life. There is also a clash between values and interest, because values and interest, everyone has their own definition of it, and that once it is challenged, it leads to a conflict again. There is a cultural influence which also leads to a kind of a conflict. We see it again in the kind of geopolitical issues that we are seeing in and all around. It is basically these grounds like the challenges in the cultural understandings, in religious understandings, in various kind of issues that humanity keeps on creating, which leads and becomes a main source of conflict. There is also, to a large extent, and especially in today's times, misinformation, assumptions, and on top of it, the expectations, which becomes a main source of conflict. Role and status issues. Everyone wants to be in a commanding position in whatever part they are in. And that is again a big challenge that we all face. And because we see that it is because of this particular aspect, that what is my role, what am I supposed to be delivering, what can I do for the other colleagues, or what is the challenge of my role that I'm not able to resolve with the other person. And then the biggest part is that people are looking for some kind of a recognition of their status, which again becomes a source of conflict. Mind games. Again, I think they would be, everyone on this call today probably would agree with me that one main source of conflict which you would have seen is that people try to play mind games. People are not very forthcoming. They are not very clear. At times you would have really struggled with, you made a presentation and gave it to someone, and then, he just corrects for a dot here or a comma there, or, just putting a kind of one more word somewhere there. And you have to really keep on doing that work again and again. It is basically a mind game. And that actually leads to a lot of conflict in your mind. Next time you're more worried that when you will present a work, what kind of feedback you will get. And then it leads to a lot of situations. I've seen stable people leaving when there is a new leader who has come and joined on top of them, because that leader did not allow them to kind of grow the way they were growing for last 4 or 5 years, and created a situation of deep conflict, and then they had to leave. Triggers, of course, because people try to find very small issues, very small challenges, and then they keep making it bigger and bigger. And then the kind of communication which is utilized, these triggers then take you to the point when it started on day one, and then on 2 months down the line, 3 months down the line, it becomes an absolute kind of a wall kind of a situation between two people. And the other person is more than happy, because he thrives in creating these kind of triggers, because he has started seeing that it disturbs. So that is also a main source of conflict. So now we will quickly look at the two parts of why this happens in our minds. What is it that our brain does? So there is an emotional brain and there is a rational brain. And I think we all would have understood this in all our kind of growth pattern till now. Many a times, and in multiple trainings that you would have done, people or the psychologists would have come and trained you, they would have actually spoken about this aspect. But nevertheless, it's an important aspect to consider what kind of decision we are taking when we are stuck in a conflict kind of a situation. So there is a emotional brain, and it quickly processes the incoming information. It filters the potential threat, and that is the kind of rationality between the two sides of the brain that human beings generally kind of utilize. And this is the one which actually makes you to ask that question: should I fight or should I take a flight? And the decision which you take, it pushes your body, produces adrenaline. You would have seen many people, they actually thrive in chaos. They love situations developing, because that actually puts their adrenaline into a higher state. They that that natural instinct, and which at times it does get equated with the animal instinct of a human being, that triggers in. There is a response which your bodies starts creating when we start perceiving a kind of a threat. And of course the tightening of the muscles, and the facial expressions. You would have seen many a times, you would have gone into meetings where you would have seen the facial expression of people changing when a situation is developing. And of course it can lead to very severe consequences. People simply stop registering what is actually coming into their ears. They do not want to hear what they just do not want to hear. There can be a deep focus, and you would see that in conflicts you will find people start seeing in a different way. Sometimes it has led to and there are studies to that effect, that people who constantly stay in challenging situations, they have far better eyesights. They may not be hearing well, but probably their eyesights are much better than the other people. So the rational brain is the one which actually triggers. It allows objectivity. It makes sense of any risk. This aspect, the emotional versus the rational brain, has to be utilized in any conflict situation with absolute clarity. We should know what part of our brain we need to use to overcome the situation that we are in, or the conflict which has arisen, or a conflict which we are forcing, or we are deep inside a conflict and we now are looking to find a path as to how to come out of it. So both the sides of the brain, we will have to really make a very quick and good decision that which side should I use to come out of this particular situation. Would I need to be really subjective here? Would I need to be really objective here? What is the risk that I'm going to encounter? And we know what kind of techniques are available and tools are available to us, whether it is the SWOT analysis, when we kind of term these, the terms as VUCA, TINA, all these kind of things, they do emerge because we need to resolve the conflict utilizing the best possible support that is available to us. There can be, barriers. I think the best way would be, yes, but you can kind of utilize them. You can concur with a person, but you still would like to convey to him. But I still think, what you don't seem to realize is there can be, these are the phrases which, when somebody uses these phrases, it actually puts a barrier right in front of you. And then even if you have something better to tell, you try to go into your shell and you say, let this situation just pass. I will see what best I can, maybe tomorrow, maybe half an hour later. Never do that. I've had the great honor of seeing a very senior president of a particular business. And I saw him sitting in front of the CEO and telling him that I need time off on this subject. Let's meet after 30 minutes. I think when I saw that example, and I, had an opportunity to discuss this aspect with him at a later opportunity, I said, do you do this often? He said, yes. He said, in all my life, when I started my working career, even as a middle manager, then as a senior manager, and now as the president of the business, if I'm not comfortable with what my CEO is telling me, I always say I need a timeout, and I wait. And he says 30 minutes later, I go back to him, and I've always overcome these rag phrases barriers, right? Now, there can be inhibitors to the conflicts that you are facing. Many people think that it can lead to social consequences. There can be legal consequences. People do not want to exhibit that they have lost their self-control. Of course, there are personal values. We all come from different backgrounds. Uh, at times, we come from those kind of households where conflicts are just not encouraged. We come from backgrounds where there are heavy conflicts that we have seen in our own lives. And then there is a bigger fear there that many a times many people are so different in their approach because they feel that the other person will fight back and they would like to avoid that situation. So these are the inhibitors which actually lead to more challenging situation, and because you are not expressing yourself correctly there, and you are just stalling yourself, and the other person has his way, and then of course he says that you aligned with me on that particular day, so now why are you not doing the way we decided on that particular day, while it was not a combined decision. It was actually thrust on you. And that is where the conflict has actually persisted from that moment till whichever part in the time ahead you are making that conversation with him. So we all understand how communication works. There is a sender. He gives you a message. There is a coding in that message. And then
So I would like to interrupt. If sender is sending a message, because we got only 10 minutes to go before we
okay.
start the question answer session.
All right. So I think I will quickly jump. Yeah. Thanks, Sid, for, because this is a. So I think there is a kind of a attitude and behavior cycle which is also putting a lot of challenge here, because my behavior versus your behavior, and all this is a kind of a cycle. So quickly we'll come to that. How can the conflicts be managed successfully? I think by this time we all definitely understand there are strategies. First thing is, please assume that you do not have all the answers. Ask questions to understand the other person's objective. What is he trying to do? And then definitely be prepared to either make a compromise or make a deal. There can be times where probably your initial understanding would be definitely not the right way. And you, if you can make a compromise, I think it is much easier to get out of the conflict situation. There is definitely active listening is a key part here. We must focus our attention and paraphrase what they have said. You can actually repeat, do I understand clearly that you wanted me to follow this? And believe you me, 90% of the times the conflict will disappear from there on. If you look at these shapes, I don't know how you interpret it, but they all are the same. They are basically cheese, piece of cheese, right? And empathy is one which definitely works because it acknowledges other people's feeling. Definitely try to put yourself in their shoes and acknowledge that they exist, step alongside them. And because you don't never know what kind of personal challenges that person faces each day when he comes to the office and to work. And what are the outcomes of the conflict? It's I think there is no rocket science here. It is either you lose, either you win or lose, or either you win. So we have to try for a win-win kind of a situation. So definitely we all should look for a win-win kind of a situation. And because both the parties need to achieve their desires, and collaboration or problem solving is actually a form of a win-win conflict. And this is the picture which probably would clear it, that these two animals are trying to go towards their respective food. They cannot, because they both are tied by their necks. And then they try to resolve the conflict by going together and not worrying as to who's eating what, but basically both of them will get equal share or maybe minus. So it is important that you gain participation from everyone who's involved in the conflict. Never undermine any person. Do take views, and that would help you to make very rational decisions. State the reasons to work on a kind of a solution. So I will, Siddharth, just jump through it. I think that was the last slide. And in the end, I just would like to leave you with a message that life is the art of drawing sufficient conclusions from insufficient premises. And before you all regroup together, I want to show you a picture. I think you would see that there is a ship which is standing, and this is from the periscope of a submarine. The ship looks like this, and a submarine commander does not have a conflict in his mind when he sees a ship. He knows that there are so many people on board the ship, but he has been given a task to win the war for his country. And what he does, you can see, probably you can make out the crosshair. It is a very old picture which were taken, a decade plus ago. And then he fires. And this is what he does, the torpedo does when it hits the ship. And within no time, the conflict which is there between the two entities goes down. So I think I'm ready for any question and answer. My apologies that probably I overshot the time.
So no issues at all, sir. And it was a lovely and engrossing lecture that we had on conflicts. And I hope by now majority of us would be confident enough to make an attempt at least towards trying to resolve any conflicts that they face. And just for info, in fact, I was the last crew of this very ship which was there, which you shot down before it got decommissioned. It was stored for being used as a target. So we have some questions from the participants. I would just read out. There's Manas from Bhubaneswar. So his question is how to get away from ego-based conflicts in government organizations, especially in the IPS and IAS.
So Manas, this is a wonderful question. Thank you for asking this. And 2 days ago, I was in Bhubaneswar, and there was a very heavy rain. My flight got delayed, and I think I was stuck in a very crazy kind of a situation with a government officer there. And believe you me, the government officers, when you deal with them, and having been a government officer myself, it is not, very difficult to deal with them. They are definitely open to a dialogue. You have to be very clear in your ask. What do you want, and why are you in front of them? their biggest challenge is that many of them have to take decisions, and those decisions at times can also have financial implications. And that is where a government official has his biggest worry. So the situation which I am resolving presently for my own organization is that a lot of our money is stuck with the government, and it is because we had a break in communication. We stopped communicating with the government, and now I'm trying to bridge a gap of about 3 years. And we have to understand that we look at the problem only from our end. But in this case, the first communication which I made to the various government organizations, and I'm struggling with about 7 of them, I made a very compassionate plea where I went wrong, where my company went wrong. And now I have said, I have gone wrong. That is perfectly fine. But this is something which you were supposed to be doing. Will you do that? So do not consider him as a roadblock. He will come to you. You will look at him as a stern kind of a personality. But and he, the challenge for him is that his signature has got a power. So he would like to be very, very diligent when he signs on something, because it has consequences associated. So you will have to really be very open, upfront with him, give them the right kind of picture why this situation has actually occurred, and you will find that they would definitely like to help. The problem in their lives is they only have 24 hours and they have 24,000 problems to resolve. So we have to kind of just factor that.
Thanks, sir. Well explained. Thank you so much.
So the next question is from Jaideep Tandon, and he says that if I am a project manager working on a project and the developer is one I have to work with, and since he doesn't have a choice and he is not delivering despite repeated reminders and the client is shouting, what I should do to resolve this conflict?
Yes, I think this is a situation which keeps occurring in all the project managers' lives. So best thing to do is, when you are getting into a situation where you are starting a project and there are multiple stakeholders involved, please identify who has the largest role, and see to it that you develop a very good relationship with all the stakeholders. You have to see. I think nowhere in the world people can say that there was a project which has gone off very smoothly without any problem. Problems will come, timelines will definitely challenge, resources will become a challenge, and be very clear in, and I would actually exhort you all that please start writing, indexing the progress of the projects. There is no harm in putting up a Monday brief in the form of a letter to all the stakeholders, that this is what we were supposed to achieve, this is where we are in this particular week, this is the plan going ahead. In my own life, and I don't know, sometimes I wonder, I'm an electrical engineer, but I have done a lot of civil construction. I was building a food park, and I was not building, my organization was building a food park. And when I came into that particular company, I was told to go and visit the Ministry of Food Processing, and the minister, there was a lady, her Simrat Badal. I have tremendous regards for that lady, because she used to pick up the things exceedingly fast. She had a diary, and she knew on which occasion, on which date, what statement was made by my organization, the person who was representing us in the past. And when I came, she kind of really put me under the mat and said, I'm going to blacklist you. And I took a waiver from her, asked her for only 3 months, and I said, I will meet the target, you decide the target. She gave me a target, and I started indexing that project progress. Every week, I used to send a letter to the ministry and to Grant Thornton, which was the project monitors. And 2 days ahead of the 3 month schedule, we delivered work worth whatever amount that the minister had actually told us to. So this is probably the best way. Otherwise, verbal communication has a tendency to slip out, but a written communication will always help you to ease out the challenges going ahead. I hope I've answered it.
Thank you, Commander sir. Thank you so much.
Any other question?
Yes, sir.
I think we've lost.
So Hello, sir. Garima from Faridabad. I want to ask, how do you recommend addressing conflicts that arise between stakeholders with conflicting interest?
Yes. So, a better approach would be to do a kind of a joint meeting and ensure that there is a kind of a secretary of that particular meeting who's created, so that that person can then assimilate all the views and start putting it. It is very important to write the minutes of meeting very clearly and impartially. Again, if somebody can write impartial minutes of a particular meeting, you will see that the resolution will start appearing, in a couple of meetings from there. Because, like you all know, people have a tendency to confuse the things. People have a tendency to showcase even a small problem as a big one, and then coming out with a solution when everyone feels or everyone says that, oh, this is something which is going to stall the whole thing, and then they have a solution also which is ready. So why create that situation? Why not, come for work early in the morning, whatever time, 9 o'clock, 8:30 that we start, and why not go back home at 5:30 by finishing all the work correctly? There is no harm in that. Why people want to stretch out? So I think the best thing which I have exercised in my life is that I have always created clear notes, put them on the files, ensured that the files are seen by everyone involved. And these days, the emails. When I write an email, even now in my organization, I make sure that one level up, two levels down, that email goes so that everyone is aligned correctly. You have to really push people. If you do not push them, and like I said, verbal communication has a tendency to be lost, but a written communication will always go as a proof with you, which will help you to resolve any kind of conflict situation.
Thank you so much, sir.
Right. So next question is, in a team, if a person is making mistakes intentionally again and again, how can we solve the situation as win-win?
Yes. So, I think one big mistake which every organization does is that they only depend upon the year-end appraisal. I think that's not going to work in times to come. The appraisal has to be a continuous process. When you sit with your teams, firstly, my recommendation is that if you sit individually with your team, with every individual member, also find opportunities to sit with the entire team, close the room, get inside, discuss everything threadbare. There is no harm in telling a person that you are not performing the way the organization expects you to, or the purpose for which you were hired for. People simply do not want to use this tool to communicate their feeling. They talk behind the back. They try to identify the weaknesses of a person communicating with somebody else. And when somebody speaks about you at your back, you do not know what they are doing. So the best thing is that if you are a leader, please call that person, speak very clearly that my expectation is that we need to finish this task in so and so time. These are the resources which have been allocated to us. What are we doing about it? We should be very clear in our ask. Everything the leader will not know. There will be some things which, as a specialist, probably that person would know. So identify and solve that. That's the easiest way to get around this. Otherwise, attrition will be the constant cycle which will accompany.
So next question, how to overcome the conflict which raises due to education level differences?
Yeah, definitely. This is again a very good question. And when you are living in a country like ours, which has so much of diversity, so much of inequality that we see, you would, and because of the monetary issues which your organizations keep facing, at times you would have people who will not be able to understand what you are trying to say. But like I said in the previous answer, the best thing is to make the entire team sit together, your critical managers, people who are directly reporting to you, because somewhere everyone's work is interlinked. So make them sit, do your weekly review very, very diligently. Do not break that cycle. Wherever in the world you are, find that 1 hour, 1.5 hour with them, because these 30-minute or 5-minute kind of interactions may not be very helpful. And especially when you understand that the other person has not understood your message, make sure that when he comes to you, he comes with a diary and a pen, and he notes down, and ask him, is there any question that you want to ask me? I'm trying to tell you this. Have you understood it? Be very patient with them. People at times are not very forthcoming because at times they are worried about your personality. They are kind of scared of your stature. Make it easy for them. If you make it easy for them, believe you me, they will try to overcome their own barriers, and they will perform the way you want them to perform. Is that okay?
Yeah, so next question. If I have strong conflict issues with boss, how to handle it?
So I think you will definitely,
So is the boss, so just try to interrupt, sorry for interrupting. Is the boss the one at home or in office? That is also crucial.
This is a good question.
Yeah, so I think this situation does happen because, like I said, that the coffee conversations in the office, everyone comes to you and gives you a different kind of a feedback because everyone's experience are actually different. But what happens that we get much influenced by those conversations, and then we keep creating an image in our mind about our bosses, or people whom we roll into. And when we are sitting with them, or there is some kind of conversation that is happening from that person's side, firstly that image starts coming ahead in your mind, and that is where you start stiffening up. And when you stiffen up, whatever he's trying to tell you, you feel that, oh, this is a kind of a excess load which he's trying to put on me, or he's trying to push me to do something. But tell me one thing, wherever you work and whatever you do, tell me, is it something very difficult which somebody is trying to tell you to do? There is a process involved. You have to do the process. If there is a financial process which is involved, there are steps to it. Just go through the whole thing clearly and concisely. That's all. When I see, there's a very big problem which I keep solving in the organizations, which is the past overdues. Why does that situation happen? Neither the boss wants to understand, nor the person who has to resolve wants to understand, and then there is a huge confrontation. What happens in the end? They put the blame on the client, on the customer. Customer is not giving back, us our money. And when I go in between, when I'm brought into the scene, when I go to the customer, I find that the problem was somewhere else only, and the problem in 70% of those instances has been with my organization, where we have not done something correctly. We have not put the GST number correctly. We have not, given the details correctly, and that it leads to that stiffening kind of a this thing that, oh, my boss is like this, or something of that nature. Have a very clear word with your boss. Very politely ask him that, sir, this is exactly how I would like to proceed. Is it okay with you? Try to do this, and maybe you will see that he will acknowledge the fact, because, like I said, he has many decisions to take. His hat is more heavier than your hat. So just give him that honor, and then see how he acknowledges you. He will start recognizing you. So try that. Be a little different with your boss.
Right. So next question. This is from Uma. If I have conflict with my senior and he's deliberately not considering my opinion, how to resolve it?
Yes, Garima, this is a fantastic question, and we see it again on day in and day out basis in the organizations. I think this is where there is a lacuna in the leadership's behavior patterns also, and definitely, I would say here that the HR, the HR function of the companies, they have to really cap this particular aspect, because an HR is supposed to be the most neutral person in the organization. But I think many of you would have had probably some different experiences around that, because this function was actually created. It's basically human resource management. So there may be occasions where you would have a very challenging situation to handle. Where do you and with whom do you go and share? There are a lot of channels available. Speak out. There are a lot of channels available where people, when they are on that coffee booth, when they speak to you, they say very bad things about the organization. But when they put a resignation, And if you see that resignation, they say, oh, this was the most wonderful organization that we ever worked with. So this is where, the dichotomy of the whole situation is. HR has to be the catalyst, in my opinion. And wherever I've worked, and when HR teams have reported to me, I have always given them absolutely neutral mandate and told them to bring the right thing in front of me. Do not, beat around the bush. What was the problem that so and so person is facing? Many people do not find that avenue, and then it leads to the kind of confusion in the mind of the employee. He or she wants to really deliver the best, but the conditions are not provided to them. So you have to actually reach out to the HR. You have to really explain to them that this is what I'm going through, and you have to even there is a tool called as a skip level, where you can bypass one level up and go ahead and convey your opinion. I know for sure that many a times these things just do not work, but never hesitate to do that, because otherwise then you take a hard decision of leaving the organization, which is neither good for you and also not good for the organization.
Thank you, sir. It is quite helpful.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yes, Harish, I can hear you.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. Thank you for this wonderful session. I have questions. Sir, due to negative stakeholders, if any conflict is there, how should we resolve that? I will give you some example. Let's say our opposition in the central government and Bengal government, when Tata was putting a plant in Bengal, and sometimes client side also, some people, they don't want to complete the project because that is bread and butter for them. How should we handle that?
Yes, so this is the irony of a society, where we land into these kind of political challenges. We land into challenges within our own organization, which also at times has kind of, there's an internal politics which is always at play. People try to make the situation very comfortable for them, and they want to stretch the program for as long as possible, because they really want to milk the organization till the end. But if you really want to become a good senior leader who can make the differences in people's lives, you have to do your best. And I know that you can run into very difficult managers. So the only way is that when you have kind of a collaborative meeting with the manager, express your opinions clearly. And that's what I said. I think I showed in one slide the challenge of conformity, and it is the challenge of conformity which damages the team. And I will not hold only that manager responsible for creating that kind of a situation where his team members, are struggling. I would also hold this leadership ahead of your manager responsible, that someone there is also not delivering as per the expectations of the organization, because no manager can create this kind of situation, because there is always one level up, one level up, one level up. Even above the chairman and managing director of an organization, there is something known as governance. There is something known as board. There is something known as the lending authorities. The banks have lended the money for creating some kind of a project. And so imagine at every level, this chain is not functioning in this kind of a situation. So you have to be absolutely truthful to yourself, because don't get married to your circumstances. You have to find a way to overcome that, because otherwise what is going to happen, that you will lose the good attitude that you have, and you will become a highly conformist kind of an individual. Nothing bad, a conformist individual also has very good qualities, but please find at till what level you would like to conform in an organization. If your manager is just not understanding enough, use either a skip level kind of a thing, or identify where you can put this problem into the right structure, how you can convey to whosoever has to take a chance. And I think these kind of inputs are appreciated to a large extent. People do not deny those. Like when I used to run an EPC company, and my projects ran in 17 states in the country. When I used to travel to the project sites, I always put my hand around the junior most project manager that I had, and I used to stand with him in the field, never in the office which my company had anywhere. I would never sit in the office. I would go on the ground zero, and whether it was blazing sun or even if it was raining or whatever, I used to work in very obsolete places in Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, and in all the parts of the country. I always stood with my junior most manager and I used to ask him, "तेरी problem क्या है? कहाँ पे फंसा है तू? मुझे बता, and I will solve it." And I'm telling you, people used to really bring their heart out, and that is how we delivered the projects. I wanted to finish the work. I wanted to pull more work into my kitty, and I wanted to grow my order book. That's the only way.
So we'll just take one last question, sir. Actually, we're running out of time, sir. The last question, as I can see, is from Garima Sharma. How can we, as a project manager, balance addressing individual concerns with maintaining overall project objectives during a conflict? I think, although you have addressed it, but you can just elaborate it a bit more.
I'm just reading the question quickly so that I give Garima the right answer. So Garima, when you have people in your team, firstly, my suggestion is that you should know almost everything about them. And generally when you speak to your teams in a very unbiased way, you would see that they would definitely open up to you, and they would understand where you are coming from, and why you are trying to find out certain things about them. They will open up, and when they open up, you would see that you would be able to understand their concerns, and you would be able to support them in those concerns. But let it not become a habit. The problem here is that when it becomes a habit and people try to take advantage of the situation, and nothing is more important than the project objective. Nothing. Whatever come what may, whatever, even if somebody and in the military parlance, we have seen leaders who, despite having got shot, fought the battle. So project objective is something which cannot be compromised. I cannot say that I didn't come for work for 5 days because I had a death in my family or something, that for those days my work has completely gone haywire. I know that thing can happen. We have to handle that situation, but please ensure that as a leader, either you can kind of appropriate the work correctly and ensure that there is no loss to the progress of the project. Eventually, what matters is how you can recover your money.
And so there was one last question also, which was put up by Narendra Sharma. How to handle a conflicting situation when your boss is incapable and always put you down because of insecurity to himself? I think sir has already addressed this in a question which came around 5 to 10 minutes back. So as I can see, I don't have any more questions to be addressed. If anybody has one, we'll take one last question. If anyone has, can you just come up on screen and display it, or rather explain it? Yeah, Arpit Bhatnagar, you said how to handle the conflict when it comes to ego. So, that also I think sir has addressed it. Also, if you just want to elaborate this, we'll take this as the last question.
I would say that this is again a very important part, and like I explained, that many of you depend upon the coffee booth kind of conversations where it starts stiffening up in your mind, and you see, eventually your ego takes over. It is not your the boss's ego. His ego is his problem, but your ego actually takes over and starts creating those walls around you, and then you simply fail to hear. And I put it up on one slide that your eyesight improves, but your hearing goes for a 6 because you are not able to assimilate what somebody else is trying to tell you. There is nothing, and I believe you me, if you write a good email on a particular issue, one-on-one to your boss also, people will understand. He might call you, he might say something, a little bitter thing to you, but once you have indexed it on an email, be rest assured, he would be very, very wary. He would know definitely that you have not appreciated it, and you want to express your opinion very clearly. So be clear in your, in your actions, and then you will not find many problems. And you skip level. You get opportunities to speak to your senior leadership, and definitely senior leaders when they come, they try to intermingle, they try to find out as to what's happening. People don't speak at that time. So if you do not utilize those opportunities, then when you will, if there is a speak out available, use the speak out. Send the message across to the organization. If there is some kind of a survey which is happening, give the right answer. If you are resigning, use the exit interview. At least somebody else's life will become easier because of you, right?
Okay, sir, thank you very much for this lovely discourse on conflict management. I hope everybody would have gained a lot from today's session. And I'm extremely sorry to the other participants if they have come up with some new questions, but these conflicting issues will be there in such sessions. And the next conflict that we have to resolve is tomorrow early morning. Do we leave 5 minutes early so that we can bypass the traffic jams, or we leave 5 minutes late and reach as late as possible to the office? So, thank you very much, sir. And just one more thing, I'll go through the proceedings, sir. Am I visible on the screen, sir?
Yes, you're visible.
Yeah. So on as part of the initiative by PMI North India chapter, we plant a tree in the name of the person who's giving us the webinar, and so on your name, we have planted a tree as part of that Trees for Urban Landscape by for Delhi, and this E-tree certificate has been issued to you, sir, and it will remain on your name, and you can actually check up where exactly in Delhi is the tree located which has been planted, and in few years from now you would actually see it fully blossoming, blooming. And for all the participants who are here, this is the these are the credentials for claiming your PDU. You may kindly take a screenshot of it, and in case of any other issues, you may please contact through the PMI website and the email.
Sure. I requested you, this is Upendra. So in case you would like to take a session for the organization level, so I sent you a separate message. Please guide on that.
It would be an honor. Whatever best I can do let me know.
Yeah, sure.
For that, I am not able to view any PDF. You mentioned that you can take a screenshot.
You share your screen.
You just hold on. I'll just do it again.
I'm requesting Arun's contact number and email address I can contact, please.
Is it visible now? Is my screen visible? Is the
No.
now?
No.
No.
Okay. Just a moment. I hope now it is visible.
Yes.
Fine.
Yes, thanks.
Okay, fine. So I'll stop sharing this. And sir, thank you very much, Arun sir. And we certainly look forward to a few more interactions with you on different other topics which you have or other different subjects which actually are quite useful to all the young professionals who are out there in the field and trying to make their way through all the different challenges that they face in their daily lives in the corporate world as well as in other organizations they have. And thank you very much, sir, and all the best to all the participants. And thank you very much, the participants, for being so patient and being interactive in attending this meeting and coming up with so lovely questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you and bye-bye. Thank you.
Siddharth, can you send the PDF code in the chat? Few people were not able to take screenshots.
Okay, I'll just send.
Thank you so much, Siddharth. Thank you. Also send the recording channel on YouTube where we can follow, please.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Thank you, Siddharth.
You're welcome.
And we'll wait for the recording. Thank you.
The recording will be available on this YouTube.
Sure. Thank you. And Siddharth, we're also looking for a facilitator. I mean, if you allow me to speak, we're looking for a facilitator who can already cross the journey of development and project management.
Upender, before you continue, can you please give your background and we'll come to know who are you,
yeah,
and
sure.
what about you? Yeah.
Sure. So I'm located in Noida. So I'm a senior project manager at Hexavu Technologies.
Okay.
And very recently, you can say, cleared this project management certification, PMI.
Okay.
So I actually, manage multiple accounts for multiple clients and projects across different geographies. So there are a few project managers reporting to me. So we are solving multiple problems and conflicts across the organization. So we're just trying to keep a session for our project managers in the organization where we can train them or upskill them with the latest project management principles, and you can say scenarios, brainstorming sessions, or a little bit of walking sessions, conflicts and queries. So that just to we're looking for a facilitator who can actually help us in that, who's actually coming from the software development background.
Okay, Upender, you can reach out to us and we'll help you out. As you've given your requirements to Commander Arun, if I'm not wrong. So yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So we'll help you, certainly help you out. That's why this organization.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I would request all participants if you can just disconnect. Otherwise, I'll have to end the session myself. Yes, Mr. Vishen, what is your question that you want to ask me?